The movie I am going to explain today is a Hindi drama. The movie is called Masan, which translates to cremation ground or crematorium, meaning the place where dead bodies are cremated. Alright, let's start the movie by watching some original scenes from it.
अगले महीने के 6 तारीख आखिरी दिन है पंडित जी, नहीं तो वीडियो जाएगा यूट्यूब पे।
At the beginning of the movie, we see a girl named Devi watching a video at home. The reason is that she's been in a relationship with a guy named Piyush for some time now. Today, Devi is going to meet Piyush for the first time. When Piyush calls, Devi hurriedly gets ready and leaves the house wearing her coaching attire. She takes an auto to town, enters a public restroom at the bus stand, changes from her house clothes into a sari she brought in her bag, and comes out. This is because Devi has deeply fallen in love with Piyush over the past few days. So, she wears the sari and applies a bindi on her forehead, hoping to give Piyush a wife-like impression when he sees her. Piyush meets Devi and takes her to a hotel. This makes Devi quite happy because she comes from a very poor family and there isn't much happiness in her life. Without thinking about right or wrong, Devi is simply excited at the idea that she might get to spend some joyful moments with the man she loves today. Piyush takes her into the hotel room and hands her a small gift box, saying, "I brought you a gift." Receiving the gift makes Devi very happy, as this is the first time anyone has ever given her one. Devi, without looking at what's inside, puts the gift in her bag and stands in front of Piyush. Piyush, with trembling hands, slowly starts touching Devi. As Devi gives him consent, Piyush begins kissing her. This is Devi's first kiss, and it gives her a unique feeling of happiness. Soon, Piyush moves to the next level, and we see them on the bed, becoming intimate. Suddenly, there's a loud knock at the door, which startles Piyush. Someone outside is banging on the door, threatening to break it if it's not opened quickly. Frightened, Devi hurriedly covers herself with the bedsheet, while Piyush looks for his clothes. As the door is broken down, we see that it's a police team. A female constable grabs Devi by her hair, and a male constable grabs Piyush by his hair, taking him under control. Then Inspector Mishra asks Piyush, "What's your name?" Piyush responds, "Sir, my name is Piyush Agarwal." Mishra asks, "What do you do?" Piyush says, "Sir, I'm a student. Where's your home?" Piyush says, "Allahabad." Hearing this, Mishra tells the constable, "Take care of him. I'll handle the girl." The constable begins brutally beating Piyush while Mishra starts filming Devi on video, asking her name. Devi realizes that this video is going to destroy her life, but she has no choice. Under pressure from the torture, Devi reveals her name. Mishra then says, "Devi ji, your life is going to be destroyed now." Meanwhile, Piyush breaks free from the constable's grasp, runs into the bathroom, and locks the door. The constable begins banging on the door, while Piyush, crying helplessly, pleads, "Sir, I'm just a student. Please don't ruin my life by filming me." However, the constable angrily continues trying to break the door, and Piyush starts contemplating his next move. Meanwhile, Mishra furiously kicks the door repeatedly as Piyush refuses to open it. Mishra then says, "Let's see how long he keeps the door shut." Taking Piyush's wallet, he says, "Father's name Dari Agarwal, mobile number 943. Alright, let's call your father." Hearing this, Piyush starts crying and says, "Please sir, don't call my father." Mishra replies, "I already did, but the number is showing as busy." Saying this, Mishra approaches Devi again, starts recording and says, "Tell me, how long have you been in this business? How much do you charge from customers?" Devi responds, "Sir, you're misunderstanding." Meanwhile, a constable breaks down the bathroom door, enters, and is shocked. He calls Mishra over, saying, "Sir, look what happened." Mishra comes over, sees something, and says, "Hey Pandy, call an ambulance quickly." We then see that, in fear of the police, Piyush, not knowing what to do, has cut his wrist with a blade and is lying there in a critical condition. The constable pulls Piyush out of the bathroom in this condition, while Devi, shocked at seeing Piyush's state, stands stunned. For the first time in her life, she loved someone. For the first time in her life, she dreamed of a beautiful life with someone. Just as a small glimmer of happiness was about to enter Devi's difficult life, everything came crashing down in an instant. As the police took Devi from the hotel to the station, people from neighboring buildings started recording videos, and Devi cried uncontrollably. As the police car took her away, an ambulance was lifting Piyush, and Devi kept looking at him. The scene then shifts to another important character in the story. This boy's name is Deepak. Like Devi, Deepak's life is also full of hardships and struggles. Deepak's family consists of 5 people, but there's only one source of income, helping burn dead bodies at the cremation ground to earn a little money to run the household. Their survival depends on this work. When fewer people die, They earn so little that it's like they're barely surviving themselves. Deepak wakes his elder brother Sikandar to go and burn a body at the cremation ground, where we also see their father, as Deepak, his elder brother and father work together in this job. The scene shifts to a small shop near the cremation ground, where we see a priest who runs this shop, selling items used in cremation rituals to make a living. Since business is slow today, the priest is sitting around, chatting with some people. At that moment, his phone rings. The priest answers the call, and someone on the other end asks, "Are you Devi's father?" The priest replies, "Yes, why?" The scene then cuts to the police station, where Inspector Mishra has brought Devi's father and Devi to the station, saying, "We caught your daughter red-handed with a boy in a hotel, involved in inappropriate activities." Listening to the inspector say such things in front of her father, Devi feels ashamed and devastated. Her father, equally embarrassed, stands silently, shocked by what he's hearing about his daughter. Mishra says, "If I inform any journalist about this right now, your daughter's photo will be on the front page of the paper." Mishra then asks, "What's your name again?" Devi's father replies, Vidyadhar Pathak. "I run a small shop and do translation work for books. Since I have knowledge of classical languages," Mishra says, "I'll call you back in 3 days. Now, pay the bail and take your daughter for now." Pathak, confused, says, "For now, what does that mean?" Mishra explains, "The boy is in the hospital. If something happens to him, your daughter will face a case. Court hearings, media coverage, public humiliation, all that is still pending." Saying this, Mishra becomes angry at Devi's father and tells him to quietly pay the bail and leave. Seeing her father being humiliated in front of her, Devi breaks down in tears. When Devi comes home, her father is eating and she sits beside him on a bench, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Devi's father, unable to swallow his food due to tension, is struggling to get it down. The reader then pours water into the food and approaches Devi, slapping her sharply. In a fit of anger, he keeps hitting her continuously. Despite being hit so much, Devi doesn't react or make any sound. This is because she understands that the fault was hers. She had made a mistake in her troubled life, seeking a little happiness. The scene shifts to Deepak's civil engineering college. As soon as the class ends, Deepak's friend Aditya arrives with his girlfriend Pooja and another friend of hers. Deepak, however, has never been involved in any romantic affairs, so he feels embarrassed in front of the girls. At that moment, Deepak notices Salu's lively behavior, which he finds quite appealing. But Deepak knows that, being from a poor family, no one would want to be romantically involved with him. So, while leaving, he helplessly watches Salu and walks away. At home, Devi is watching TV when Inspector Mishra arrives. Since there's nothing to offer visitors at home, Devi brings only a glass of water. In the meantime, when Devi's father Pandit arrives, Mishra tells him, "Pandit ji, the boy has died. His post-mortem has been done, and we will soon receive the report with that." Mishra takes out a file and says, "These are court documents. Please fill them out." As soon as the topic of the court arises, Pandit gets flustered. Mishra was waiting for this reaction, and to frighten him further, he says, "The boy's death means this case has turned into a murder case." Hearing this, Pandit stammers, "The boy. He died in your profession." Upon hearing such words, Mishra falls silent. But Mishra wasn't there to be silent. He had come to exploit Devi's father's helplessness, scare him, and take money from him. So, Mishra threatened the father of Devi with court proceedings. The scholar replied, "Okay, then you suggest a way." Mishra responded, "Here comes the client. Now, I will handle all the court and media matters. You just need to give me 3 lakh taka. And yes, I am giving you 3 months' time." Hearing about the 3 lakh, the reader was shocked and said, "Even if I try my best, I can't manage 50,000, and now you're asking for 3 lakh." On hearing this, Mishra became angry and started abusing the reader in front of his daughter. The reader started crying. Even then, Mishra played the video of DVI on his phone and said, "If I release this video on the internet, you and your daughter will never be able to show your faces to anyone. Therefore, you must give me 1 lakh within 2 days. Is that okay?" The helpless father, crying, said yes, okay. After Mishra left, the reader cried uncontrollably, and seeing her father dishonored, Devi also cried helplessly. Then, when Piyush died, Devi for the last time went to the crematorium to see him, but a man stopped her and said that women are not allowed in the crematorium. Seeing this, Devi climbed to the roof of a nearby building, watched Piyush's body being cremated from afar, and cried uncontrollably. 2 days later, we see Devi's father standing on the road, having somehow managed to gather 1 lakh taka, waiting in a place. In a short while, Mrs. Haji arrives and the reader hands over the bag of money to Mrs. Shaji, who leaves as usual. The reader, upon reaching home, asks Devi who the young man was. Devi replies, "He used to come to my computer coaching center, and I would type his project for him. That's where we grew fond of each other." The reader, a bit irritated, responds, "Is that all?" Devi explains, "I liked talking to him. I enjoyed his company, so I fell in love with him." Hearing this, Devi's father angrily retorts, "A poor man's love, huh? Didn't you ever think about my honor?" When Devi remains silent, her father furiously approaches her and says, "For you, I've sunk into a debt of 3 lakhs. I had to break my fixed deposit and give 1 lakh today. I have no idea how to pay the remaining 2 lakhs." Meanwhile, Deepak's friend Aditya finds him browsing his girlfriend Pooja's Facebook page. Deepak then casually mentions, "That girl who came with Pooja the other day. Do you know her name?" Aditya realizes that Deepak must have liked Pooja's friend. "Is her appearance clear in your mind?" Aditya asks. Deepak confirms and Aditya shows him a Facebook group for their college and starts pointing out profiles. "This is her," Deepak exclaims, recognizing the girl. Aditya suggests, "Create a Facebook account and send her a friend request." Deepak agrees, and soon after, he sees that Salu has accepted the request. He then messages her, asking, "Will you be attending the Durga Puja tomorrow?" Salu responds affirmatively. That night, Deepak's father is sitting with the cremation ground workers, drinking a red beverage, when Deepak, nervously, tells him, "If I had 300 bucks, I could have gone to Durga Puja with my friend." The next day, Deepak and Aditya go to the festival, looking for Salu. From a distance, Deepak spots her with Pooja and watches them closely. In his excitement, he bumps into a bicycle, making Salu laugh. Deepak is thrilled that Salu noticed him. Without a computer at home, Deepak goes to a photo studio, pays 20 bucks, and prints a screenshot of Salu's Facebook profile. He looks at it at home, illuminated by his mobile phone's light, feeling happy. The next day, Deepak meets his friends at the festival again and sees Salu buying a balloon. When Deepak approaches, Salu, embarrassed, buys the balloon and leaves. Deepak realizes that she really likes balloons, so he rushes to buy one for her, but finds that Salu has already moved far ahead in the crowd. Feeling a little disheartened, Deepak releases the balloon into the sky and walks back to his friends. Salu notices the balloon flying and, to Deepak's surprise, releases her own balloon into the air. This shows that she noticed his gesture, which makes Deepak very happy. From then on, Deepak spends his days at the computer cafe, using Facebook to message Salu. Meanwhile, Devi's family is already struggling financially, and the burden of Misaji's money pressure is adding to their difficulties. Devi's father decides to take her to a computer training center to find a job for her. Devi is very good at computers, so her dream is to get a job as a computer trainer or instructor. But as a poor person, it's not easy for her dreams to come true. So, it happens. A man tells Devi that they can't hire anyone as a computer trainer here. However, there is an opening at the reception. This job is for welcoming new students who enroll and giving them congratulations and some advice. The salary will be around 5,500 to 6,000 this month. Hearing about the 5,000 salary, Devi's father is happy and finalizes the job, but Devi is not happy at all. She knows that with her computer skills, she should be getting a salary of 15,000 to 20,000 a month. So Devi tells her father that the salary is just 5,500. Her father says that this will be enough to run the family. Later, at a restaurant, we see Deepak meeting Shalu for the first time. Shalu asks Deepak, "Do you study at the Polytechnic?" Deepak replies, "Yes, I'm doing civil engineering in my final year." Deepak thinks that Shalu may lose interest when she knows he's unemployed, so he adds, "Actually, there was a strike at college last year, otherwise I would have had a job by now." Then Shalu asks, "What do you like?" Shalu says, "I really like music and poetry." As she starts listing the names of some great poets and their best poems, Deepak doesn't understand much of it, because with his poor, busy life, he never has time to listen to poetry. So, Deepak has never developed any liking for poetry. However, to please Shalu, Deepak listens attentively and continues talking with her. Meanwhile, Devi starts her new job, and we see a boy from the training center secretly looking at her with inappropriate intentions. After a while, the boy comes to Devi and asks, "Is this your first job?" Devi says, "Yes." The boy asks, "You are so experienced in computers. Why are you doing a job at the reception for just 5,500? Devi replies, "Just like that." The boy then says, "No, I know why you are here." Hearing this, Devi is stunned. When she gets home, she starts watching TV, and her thoughts keep drifting to Piyush. Devi decides to open the gift box that Piyush had given her, but as soon as she opens it, she bursts into tears and leaves it. The scene shifts to Deepak, who is talking to Shalu on the phone and listening to her poetry. "Keep her close to your eyes. Don't let her get lost in the dark. I am a traveler, and you are a traveler, and you are a traveler too. Someday we will meet again." Hearing the lines, Deepak says, "I didn't understand much of the poem, but I really liked it." Shalu responds, "You're really very naive and yes, very cute too." This makes Deepak very happy. Then Deepak says, "If I'm not mistaken, your birthday's coming up. I saw it on Facebook." Shalu replies, "Oh, okay, but Facebook didn't tell you something else." Deepak asks what Shalu says. A picnic. Just then, Shalu's mother calls her, and Shalu ends the call and goes. Deepak stops her and says, "Please, from now on, don't call me you but tu." Shalu replies, "If you can memorize 2 poems, then I'll consider it." Saying this, she hangs up. Deepak, then listens to the poetry again on his mobile. You run like a train. I shiver like a flower in the garden. You fly like a firefly in the night. I follow you and get lost in the jungle. I think of you like a bubble of water and burst with a loud sound. It's your laughter that destroys me. It's your laughter that makes me happy. The next day, when Devi is leaving the office, the same boy from the office comes to her and says, I want to ask you for something. Devi is stunned. The boy asks, will you give me something? He continues, it's okay, I won't tell anyone. I know you gave him too. Hearing this, Devi doesn't hesitate and leaves the office immediately. Later, Devi goes to her father and says, Dad, I have quit the job. Upon hearing this, her father becomes silent and angrily says, what do you want? Should I jump into the river now and end my life? Devi asks, what do you mean? The father says, don't say anything. Just leave from here now. Devi, feeling angry, leaves the house. At home, Devi tries to apply for a railway job related to computers. Meanwhile, her father comes and scolds her for quitting the job. He says, with all the stress of courts and offices, I can't sleep at night. Now, you've also quit your job. Devi replies angrily, don't worry, no one will go to jail. Her father says, just saying it won't solve anything. Devi says, since I have sinned, I will manage the money from Mizraji. A reader says, do whatever you like, and then leaves. When Deepak comes to meet Shalu, he finds that Deepak is repeatedly listening to a poem by Salu on his friend's audio player, trying to memorize it. Deepak believes that if he can memorize the poem, Salu will call him you, meaning Salu will accept him. After a while, Deepak memorizes part of the poem and is very happy. He thinks that happiness is now coming into his life. However, one of Deepak's friends says, Dost, Shalu is from a high caste, but you're a dom. Did you tell her this? Does Shalu know where you live, what you do, or what your profession is? Upon hearing this, Deepak's newly formed dreams immediately fade, and the smile on his face disappears, replaced by darkness. Seeing this, another friend comforts him and says, caste doesn't matter. You just need to get a job. Then Aditya tells Rihan, give Deepak your bike key. Rihan asks, why? Aditya replies, what's the point in knowing all this? Just give it, and he'll take the petrol and go. Later, when Shalu is on her way home from college in the college bus, her friend notices that Deepak is following the bus on his bike, waiting for Shalu to look outside. When she tells Shalu, Shalu looks out and Deepak signals to her, saying, please come out. Shalu, happy, stops the bus, gets off, and asks, where are you taking me? Deepak replies, wherever you want to go. Hearing this, Shalu smiles and gets on the back of Deepak's bike. Deepak then takes her to a quiet spot near a river outside the city. Sitting by the river, Shalu asks, you never told me where you live. Upon hearing this, Deepak's throat dries up. If he tells her that he lives near the cremation ground, what if Shalu asks if he's a dom? What should he answer? To avoid this, Deepak replies, I live just past Vilupur. Changing the topic, Deepak takes out a gift and says, I've got your birthday gift. Later, they arrive at a place called Sangam. And when they get on a boat, Shalu asks, have you been to Sangam before? Deepak says no. And Shalu replies, I come here often. Then, in the course of the conversation, Shalu says, we're going on a pilgrimage for a few days. Everyone in my family is going, you should come with us. Deepak says, no, you're going with your family. Why would I go? After the boat ride, they sit under a tree on the riverbank. Deepak asks, you're the youngest in your family, right? Shalu replies, yes, but how do you know? Deepak says, the youngest is always more playful. Hearing this, Shalu playfully nudges Deepak, and he exclaims, ouch, why so hard? Shalu replies, I have a ring on my hand. Deepak notices the ring and asks, who gave it to you? Shalu says, my uncle gave it to me when I was little. I've grown up, but auntie still has it, so I can't take it off now. Shalu adds, since I'm the youngest at home, everyone loves me a lot. Deepak, moved by this, looks at her and becomes emotional. Without thinking, he kisses her. In fear, he says, I kissed you because you're the youngest and I feel affection for you. Hearing this, Shalu smiles and kisses him back, pulling away after a moment. Deepak, secretly happy but worried about what Shalu might think, remains silent. Seeing Deepak's joy, Shalu kisses him again and holds him tightly. After spending some time together, they head back. Both are very happy. Deepak thinks he's about to find happiness in his troubled life, and Shalu is finding someone she loves. Deepak then asks, do you think your family will approve of our marriage? Shalu says, I don't know. Do you want to meet them? Deepak says, I'll meet them. Shalu teasingly says, you haven't told me about your family yet, but you're cleverly asking to come to my house. Upon hearing this, Deepak's smile fades, and he starts thinking, what if Shalu's family finds out I'm a dom? This relationship might end then. When they reach Shalu's house, she teasingly says, you've seen my house. When will you show me yours? Deepak, feeling hurt, angrily responds, I already told you I live near Vilupur. That's it. Why all this fuss? Shalu, surprised, says, I was just joking. Deepak retorts, what's funny about it? If you're so curious, then come on the bike. I'll show you where I live. You want to know the truth, right? Deepak then admits, I live near Harishchandra Ghat. I was born there and grew up there. I'm a dom. I burn dead bodies at the cremation ground. Not just me, my father, grandfather, and uncle do this work too. Shalu is silent upon hearing this. Deepak says, have you ever seen anyone in front of you? And I see and do this every day, from morning till evening. Would you want to witness this every day? Hearing this, Shalu stands there, speechless. Deepak, angry, walks away. The scene shifts to the postman, who gives a letter to Devi and says, you need to tip me today. Devi asks, why? The postman says, a government job letter came. Will you not tip me? Though the news is happy, Devi can't bring herself to be happy because she forgot what it felt like to be happy long ago. Anyway, Devi entered the room, opened the letter, and saw that she had received a job as a computer operator at a railway station ticket counter. The next day, when Devi joined, she met her colleague Sazad. Sazad was a very jovial, sociable, and talkative person. He quickly became friendly with Devi, and after a long time, a smile appeared on Devi's face again. Meanwhile, the day for Salu's pilgrimage arrived, and she left with her family by bus for the journey. On the way, Salu kept listening to Deepak's call recordings and thinking about him. While thinking, Salu reached her destination, and her family started enjoying the place. However, Salu kept sitting and only thought about Deepak. On the other side, Deepak was in a similar situation. He was sitting on the riverbank, lost in thought, as his dreams had shattered. He realized that Salu would never call him again. Just then, someone's call surprised Deepak. It was Salu. Deepak said, so, you called me? Salu replied, you were the one who behaved badly that day, so you should have called first. Deepak said, sorry. Salu said, I didn't call to hear your apology, I called to know how you are doing. Deepak replied, I'm fine now, thanks to your call. Salu said, listen, my parents will never accept you, but I am with you, and I've heard that everything gets better after marriage. You just need to find a good job and everything will be fine. Hearing this, Deepak became very happy and said, yes, I will try my best. I'll dedicate my life to finding a job. Salu, pleased, replied, that's all I need to hear. Remember, I'm by your side. If we need to run away, we will. Take care of yourself. With that, Salu ended the call and Deepak felt an overwhelming pure love inside him. He then told his friend, buddy, we need to go home and get to work right away. Now, Deepak, for the first time in his life, is taking a job interview seriously because he needs Salu in his sorrowful life, and to be with her, he needs the job. So Deepak started attending job interviews in various places and told Salu, don't worry, by the time you return from your pilgrimage, I'll have the job. Salu was very happy to hear this. The next scene takes place at the crematorium where many bodies have been brought, and everyone is struggling to handle the workload. Deepak's brother comes to wake him up, saying, hurry up, there are many bodies to handle, and it's becoming too much to manage. Deepak, a bit annoyed, gets up with sleepy eyes and starts working. Deepak is assigned to prepare the fire for one of the bodies. After preparing the fire, he lifts the body and places it on the pyre. Just then, something makes him stop in his tracks. He notices that the body is that of a girl, and the girl is holding the ring that Salu had worn. At that moment, Deepak's assistant speaks up, saying, the bus carrying the pilgrims fell into a gorge on the way back, and none of the passengers survived, which is why so many bodies have arrived here. Deepak, pulling the cloth off the body, gasps in disbelief. It is Salu! Seeing Salu lying dead, Deepak turns to stone. He watches as the body is set on fire, unable to do anything. Inside, Deepak is overwhelmed with sorrow. He had never asked for much from life, just a little happiness, which he found in loving Salu, but fate had denied him that too. And even worse, Deepak could not share his pain with anyone. Today, Deepak had to set his beloved's body on fire with his own hands. It wasn't just burning a body, it was burning a precious soul, a heart full of love. After everyone finished cremating the bodies and left, we see Deepak searching through the ashes for Salu's ring. As he touches it with love, his eyes well up with tears. The scene shifts to Devi at the ticket counter. A couple arrives to buy tickets for a trip, and their playful banter breaks Devi's heart. She thinks to herself how the rich can so easily find love, and this thought fills her with immense pain. As the couple tries to buy the tickets, Devi informs them there are no vacant seats. All tickets have been booked. Later, we see Deepak, who has an interview for a job, but he looks utterly defeated. His friend tries to encourage him and sends him to the interview. However, during the interview, all the interviewers are asking questions while Deepak remains silent, lost in his thoughts. That night, when I arrived at the cremation ground, I saw Deepak sitting silently with his eyes completely bloodshot after Seeing this, Aditi asked, "Why are you sitting like this?" Deepak then looked up at the sky, seemed lost in thought, and said, "You run like a train. I tremble like a flower in the nearby garden." Saying this, Deepak laughed to himself. Then, as if thinking of something again, he said, "If I need to run away, I will. Take care of yourself." With these words, Deepak looked at the sky, smiled lightly, then his mood turned somber again, and he spoke once more. When I arrived at Devi's house, I saw her sitting in front of the computer at night, scrolling through Pius's ID and looking at Pius's photos, missing him terribly. Later, Devi went to her father and showed him the salary envelope, saying, "Father, this is my first salary." The reader asked, "How much did you get?" Devi replied, 20,000. Hearing this, Devi's father was overjoyed and lovingly pulled her to him, saying, "Wow, you've got a good job. They're giving you 20,000 a month." Devi then said, "But father, I won't keep this job for long. I want to take a course in computer science at Allahabad University and get enrolled in a coaching center nearby." The reason she wanted to go there was because Pius's house was in that area, and he had studied at that university. Devi hoped to feel a connection to him, and perhaps find some solace. She had mentally accepted Pius as her husband, and after his death, she wanted to stand by his family as her own. However, she didn't let her father know the real reason she was going there. Later, when I visited Deepak, I found him sitting near the riverbank in the dark, staring at the water, crying silently. Deepak, trying to calm the fire in his heart, made a desperate attempt to jump into the river. He swam towards the other side, as if hoping to end his life on this shore and find peace on the other side. He swam for what seemed like forever, but despite all his effort, he couldn't reach any shore. Eventually, exhausted, he returned to the riverbank, lay down, then sat up again, staring at the illuminated place on the other side of the river, lost in thought. The whole night passed, and in the morning, Deepak went to his father, helpless, and looked at him, thinking about how to free his father from this hopeless life. He had to live for his father and do something good with his life. So Deepak buried his pain deep inside and focused on his studies again. Soon he began attending job interviews and eventually got a job. The officers informed him that he had been posted to Allahabad. Deepak was overjoyed, and his father, after seeing the funeral pyre, thought that now his family could live peacefully with his job. With this hope in his heart, Deepak left for Allahabad and started his job. After many struggles, Deepak gradually managed to return to a normal life. Later, when Devi's father was at the shop, Mishra came to collect some money. Devi's father, handing him some money, said, "My daughter is working and earning 20,000 a month. Please give me some time and I will pay the rest." Mishra replied, "Panditji, I'll give you time until the 6th of next month. If you don't pay the remaining money by then, I'll release your daughter's video on Facebook." Devi's father nodded helplessly, but he knew there was no way to gather so much money in such a short time. Would he be able to save his daughter's honor? The next day, at the riverbank, there was a game where many coins were thrown into the river, and children dived into the water to collect them. The one who gathered the most coins would win. Before the game started, people placed bets on which boy would gather the most coins. The boy who succeeded would win 10 times the amount he caught. Seeing this, Devi's father took a loan of $10,000 by mortgaging his shop and placed a bet on a boy named Bitu who worked in his shop. The game began, and Bitu and the other boys dived into the river to collect the coins. The reader, along with the others, prayed to God for Bitu to win. Bitu was collecting coins well, but suddenly he dived and didn't come back up. People screamed in panic, and one man jumped into the river to rescue Bitu. Well, after much effort, the man brought Bitu to the shore, revived him, and we found out that the reader had brought Bitu to the hospital. Deep in thought, the reader wondered how he would gather the money to pay Mishra. Seeing the reader so distressed, Bitu said, "I've ruined all your money, haven't I?" The reader lovingly said, "No, son, don't say that." The reader began to cry, and Bitu handed him a gold ring saying, "I found this when I dived into the river." We then realized it was the same ring that Salu had thrown into the river when Deepak had dropped it. The reader, overcome with joy, felt like he had been revived from the brink of death. The reader took the ring to a goldsmith, sold it, and paid off Mishra, saving his daughter's honor. After receiving the money, Mishra left, and the reader thanked God in the sky. Later, at the train station, Devi was preparing to leave for Allahabad. She boarded the train, anxious about when she would arrive and meet Pius's parents. When she arrived at Pius's house, she asked woman, "Is this Pius's house?" The woman said yes, and Devi introduced herself. "I'm Devi Pathak, Pius's friend." Upon hearing this, the woman invited her inside, and Devi was glad that they seemed to understand her situation. However, when they entered, we overheard Pius's father angrily shouting at Devi and using abusive language towards her. Later, at the riverbank, Deepak was sitting, lost in thought. Devi, who had come there hoping to find some happiness in Pius's memories, also arrived, but she couldn't find happiness there either. So, for the last time, she opened the gift Pius had given her, but she couldn't bear to look at it and threw it into the river. Seeing Devi so hopeless, Deepak approached her, offered her a bottle of water, and sat beside her. A boat arrived, and the boatman called out, "Sangam, just 20 rupees." We realized that this was the same place where Salu had told Deepak it was his favorite spot. Deepak, thinking of Salu, sat there while Devi, having no other place to go, boarded the boat. Deepak followed her as it was Salu's favorite place. The boat sailed away, and the movie ended here. So, how did you find the movie? Please let me know. And yes, stay tuned for more on this new channel. Thank you so much.